Hello everybody, welcome here to Musicians Edition. I'm Evan here on the guitar, and I wanted to put up a quick video here on covering sharps and flats on the guitar, which is going to help us know all the notes we have on our guitar here. So I had previously gone over each individual string and mostly just talking about the natural notes on each of those strings and not really explaining too much about those sharps and flats. So let's make sure we go over those today, as we will definitely be playing those as we are working on our guitar skills. So sharps and flats really are like any other note on the guitar. For me, I started as a piano player, so it makes the most sense to me to kind of see them on the piano player to understand why they are viewed as differently from these natural notes. So here's an example of a piano, and if you've seen a piano before, you know there's white keys and there's black keys. The white keys are what we call natural notes. It's just a regular A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And we have the black keys on the piano, which represents our sharps and our flats. And so on the piano as well as on the guitar, we can call a sharp or a flat a sharp or a flat, depending on what we want to say its relation to the notes around it are. And it also depends on what key you're playing in to say what's the appropriate way to say what that note is. For example, whether we're going to call it a C sharp or a D flat. Guitarists don't often care so much about music theory in that way, so either one will typically do, and I feel like I see sharps just more commonly said on guitar as opposed to the flat version. But regardless, so here it is what it looks like on the piano. We can say every note can be called a sharp. So if we look at the note to the left of the black key, for example, C, we can call it C sharp for the black key just to the right of C. And same with D to D sharp, F to F sharp, G to G sharp, A to A sharp. And these notes really are like any other note, especially on the guitar, where there's really no difference of white versus black keys. So we view them as all the same kinds of notes. We play them as any other kind of note, especially on guitar. They look no different from any other kinds of notes, but this is just what we can call them. They don't have their own individual alphabetical letter, but we can still call them C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp for these notes. And we can also have the flat version of them as well too. The flat version is just looking at the note on the right of it, or the one that's one higher than that black key, or just that note on the guitar. And we can say that that one is now going to be D flat, E flat, G flat, A flat, and B flat. I feel like I think of it as like flat, you're falling flat back down, down a pitch, versus sharp, you're bringing it up that extra pitch there too. So again, either name works, either name is appropriate, and now let's switch back over to the guitar and see how that helps us look at the notes here. So on the guitar, we learned A, B, C, D, E, F, G as well. With all those natural notes, I went string by string in my previous videos to go over that. We can go ahead and find an A, which is going to be on the A string here. And we know we can play an A. We can go to the 2nd fret and play a B, 3rd fret for a C, 5th for D, 7th for E, 8th for F, and we can go back to the 10th fret for G, right here, G, and that brings us back to the 12th fret, which is A again, and we can just kind of repeat that up and down here. What we're missing in between those is those sharps and flats. So with what we just talked about, we can go from A, and we have the 2nd fret for B, but what's in between those, we can call A sharp or B flat. For that note right there on the 1st fret of the A string, A sharp or B flat. And likewise, we had a gap in between C and D. That was the 3rd fret and the 5th fret, but on the 4th fret, we can call that either C sharp or D flat. We keep going up. We had D on the 5th and E on the 7th, which means we had a gap right in the middle there on the 6th fret. We can call that D sharp or E flat. And same with going up and down this guitar. That's how we can fill in the gaps of natural notes versus those sharps and flats. And really on guitar, there's no difference in how they look and how they play. They're just notes. But it is good to make sure we know the names of these, obviously, because we're going to be playing chords with those as the root note, for example. That is a G sharp or A flat major chord, so we want to be able to know what those are called. All right, so again, those sharps or flats can go by either name. So I can either be playing this, for this example, as G sharp or A flat. Same with every one of these sharps and flats on the guitar here. All right, so if you have gotten down those natural note names and where to find those, just start working on where those sharps and flats are going to be as well too. We play these in all different kinds of ways. It really just depends on what key you're playing in, for what sharps and flats you're going to include in that song, but we rarely do only play natural notes. There's only 2 keys that play only natural notes of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that's just C major and A minor, but songs use all different kind of keys, and so it's good to make sure we do know the names of all these notes and understand that we're not just having gaps in between these natural notes, but there are real notes there. All right, so we can see a picture of the full fretboard here. And so this shows all the natural notes with kind of just those gaps grayed out of where those sharps and flats are. And so again, we can call them either name. So on this low E string, for example, we have E, F, we have that gap. What can we call that one? That's gonna be F sharp or G flat. Then we have G, again, this one here we can call G sharp or A flat. And we can keep going up and up like that. All right, and here's another image that just shows those sharps and flats versions with the rest grayed out. So I do really encourage you guys to have a picture of your fretboard that does include those sharps and flats on there, or if you do have them missing, just make sure you know what those notes are actually called. So you can write down what you're playing. You can follow along if a song tells you to play a certain riff on that, or if a song tells you to play a certain chord, like an F sharp chord, just making sure you can still find out where that is. All right, and that is it for this video on those sharps and flats. So I hope this helped you put some things together here if you were struggling to learn the names of these notes and what those mean. Again, they're like every other note. They don't look any different. They're just regular notes here on the guitar. On other instruments like that piano, they look different because we have those black versus the white keys. That's kind of how they're called, the naturals versus sharps and flats. But on guitar, it's all just notes. They all look exactly the same as we go and play here on the guitar. So have fun playing, and we'll see you next time.